In the summer of 2001, before superheroes dominated the box office and before streaming rewired Hollywood's business model, a gritty street racing film detonated across America and rewrote the rules of modern action cinema. The Fast and the Furious didn't arrive with awards buzz or prestige pedigree. It arrived with engine noise, underground swagger, and a pulse that felt dangerously real. Older audiences who grew up on Bullitt instantly recognized something familiar beneath the neon glow: a code of honor, a test of loyalty, a rebellion against the system. But what most viewers never realized is that this film nearly collapsed before the cameras even rolled. Casting almost derailed it. The title was borrowed from a forgotten B-movie. The studio didn't fully believe in it. And yet, against the odds, it ignited a franchise that would span decades. The real question is not how it succeeded, but how close it came to failure. 1. It was never supposed to be a franchise. It was a gamble. When The Fast and the Furious went into production, Universal saw it as a mid-budget crime thriller with engines attached. No cinematic universe, no billion-dollar roadmap, just a risky bet on underground street racing at a time when NASCAR ruled and import tuner culture lived in the shadows. Studio executives weren't convinced Middle America would care about nitrous tanks and Japanese performance cars. That skepticism shaped everything: tighter budgets, practical stunts, fewer safety nets. And that pressure gave the film its raw edge. It had something to prove. Like the racers it portrayed, the movie was running for pink slips. Nothing about its success was guaranteed, and that hunger, that chip on its shoulder, is exactly what audiences felt in every frame. 2. The title was rescued from a forgotten 1950s B-movie. The film almost carried forgettable names like Redline or Race Wars. Then producer Neil Moritz stumbled across a 1,955 crime film called The Fast and the Furious, produced by Roger Corman. The phrase had bite, rhythm, danger, but Corman owned it. Universal negotiated a trade stock footage in exchange for rights. That deal gave the movie instant mythic branding before a single tire burned rubber. A strong title creates expectation. Expectation creates gravity. Gravity pulls audiences in. Without that name, this story might have faded into early 2000s obscurity. Instead, it sounded timeless, like something you'd heard before, even if you hadn't. 3. The film was Point Break with cars, and that was intentional. The structure mirrors Point Break. An undercover cop infiltrates a charismatic outlaw crew, falls for someone inside, and faces a moral crossroads. The filmmakers didn't hide the comparison. They embraced it. Surfboards became turbochargers. Ocean waves became asphalt. That familiar backbone made the film accessible to older audiences who grew up on character-driven action. It wasn't just racing. It was loyalty versus duty, brotherhood versus badge. That emotional architecture gave the movie depth beyond its neon surface. 4. Paul Walker was chosen because he felt like Steve McQueen. Director Rob Cohen didn't just see a young actor in Paul Walker, he saw an echo of Steve McQueen. Walker's restrained charisma and quiet moral tension gave Brian O'Connor dimension beyond a typical undercover cop. He wasn't flashy, he was conflicted. That internal struggle grounded the spectacle. For audiences raised on Bullitt, the connection felt instinctive. Walker carried forward a tradition of cool that didn't shout, it smoldered. That choice gave the film emotional credibility. 5. Vin Diesel nearly walked away and changed the script instead. Vin Diesel refused to portray Dominic Toretto as a one-note criminal. He pushed for ritual, loyalty, and the sacred language of family. The backyard dinner scene became more than atmosphere. It defined the franchise's philosophy. Dom evolved into a code-bound patriarch, not just a street racer. That shift elevated the film from crime thriller to modern folklore. Diesel understood that engines impress, but belief sustains. Dom became less a character and more a symbol. 6. Real street racers filled the background, not actors. To avoid artificiality, the production recruited authentic Los Angeles street racers to populate key scenes. The Race Wars sequence wasn't staged with actors pretending to understand torque curves. These were real enthusiasts with real machines. Their pride, stance, and mechanical obsession translated on screen. That authenticity created texture impossible to manufacture. The world felt lived in rather than designed. Audiences sensed it immediately. Credibility radiated from the background outward. 7. The iconic Supra wasn't what you think. Brian's orange Toyota Supra became a cultural icon, yet many stunt versions weren't true high-performance builds. Sound design amplified turbo effects that weren't always mechanically present. But cinema operates on sensation. Viewers remember the roar, the glow, the triumph, not the spec sheet. The car symbolized rebirth and redemption. Myth eclipsed metallurgy, and that myth is what endures. 8. The cast trained like racers, and some couldn't even drive. Several cast members lacked serious driving experience before filming began. Intensive racing school training changed that. Michelle Rodriguez and Jordana Brewster committed fully to learning performance driving techniques. Meanwhile, Walker developed a genuine love for the automotive world. That immersion shows in posture and presence. Steering wheels don't look like props in their hands. Confidence reads authentically through movement. 9. The MPAA nearly altered its trajectory. The film balanced danger with accessibility. Violence and edge were tempered carefully to secure a PG-13 rating. That classification broadened audience access dramatically. Younger viewers entered theaters legally, while older viewers recognized the grit without excess. The tone remained intense, yet controlled. That equilibrium expanded cultural impact and ensured generational crossover appeal. 10. Nearly 80 cars were destroyed. Nearly 80 vehicles were sacrificed during production. Real metal bent, real glass shattered. The Dodge Charger crash sequence required multiple builds because stunt choreography pushed machinery to its limits. That tangible destruction gives the action weight. You sense consequence in every collision. Digital perfection rarely carries that gravity. Physical sacrifice created visceral credibility, and credibility made the spectacle unforgettable. 11. The high-speed dialogue was an engineering trick. Those intense close-ups at highway speed weren't actors risking their lives. The production mounted car shells onto a specialized high-powered rig driven by professional stunt operators. The actors focused purely on performance, while the vehicle moved safely at real velocity. The result feels authentic because the environment was real: wind, vibration, momentum, but the danger was controlled. Precision engineering protected the myth. 12. Ja Rule's exit opened the door for Ludacris. When Ja Rule declined to return for the sequel, the door opened for Ludacris. That casting shift reshaped the franchise's chemistry for years. A single decision redirected long-term narrative balance. Hollywood often pivots on moments this small. Legacy doesn't always turn on explosions. Sometimes it turns on silence. 13. Vin Diesel refused the sequel at first. Vin Diesel initially refused to appear in the immediate sequel, wary of repetition. His absence forced the series to expand its world beyond Dom Toretto. Years later, a strategic cameo tied to the Riddick deal brought him back. That brief return restored the mythic center. Business negotiation quietly reignited narrative gravity. 14. The DVD release proved its staying power. When the film hit DVD in early 2002, sales surged beyond studio projections. Repeat viewing transformed curiosity into loyalty. Living rooms across America replayed races, rewound dialogue, memorized lines. The home market confirmed cultural permanence. It wasn't just a summer thrill, it was a property with endurance. And endurance is what turns a hit into history. 15. At its core, it was always about family. Engines were the hook, loyalty was the anchor. Beneath chrome and combustion lived an old-fashioned code: trust earned, bonds chosen, respect defended. That's why the film endured beyond trends. It wasn't just about racing, it was about belonging. And that may be the real legacy. Not the box office totals, not the sequels that reach space, but the reminder that audiences, especially those who've seen Hollywood cycles rise and fall, respond to sincerity wrapped in spectacle. In the end, The Fast and the Furious wasn't built to last decades. It was built to survive one summer, and that's exactly why it endures. It reminds us that Hollywood's most powerful stories rarely begin as calculated franchises. They begin with conviction, a director chasing authenticity, actors demanding depth, a studio taking a reluctant risk. Beneath the engines and explosions lives something older than box office numbers: loyalty, identity, chosen family. That's the real fuel. For those of us who grew up watching Steve McQueen command the screen with quiet intensity, this film carried that spirit into a new generation. Its legacy isn't just measured in sequels or spectacle, it's measured in cultural impact, in car meets across America, in lines still quoted 20 years later. If this deep dive brought back memories or gave you a new perspective, hit that like button. Share this with someone who still believes practical stunts beat CGI. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more stories that uncover the real history behind the films that shaped us. Because the classics don't fade, they accelerate.